Hello, everybody. My name is Brady Nikolov. I am the festival director of Screams by the Sea, and today I'm joined by Charlie Robb. Charlie is one of the co-directors and writers of a brand new movie called Loner. Charlie, how you doing, buddy?
Morning, Roddy. I'm doing well, mate. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you as well, everyone out there for watching Loner. And sorry I can't be there, but very, very excited to be chatting with you.
Loner is going to be screened at some Scream, so people right now are probably watching this at the end of the movie, but also we're going to put that online. So mild spoiler warnings. We were going to try not to spoil the movie for anybody that has not seen it, but that said, proceed with caution and perhaps maybe read the captions. But Charlie, I would like to sort of start with I've seen a lot of your work that is available online and a lot of the subject matters that you guys kind of sort of like work with in the past. But Charlie, I wanna start with, why is men's mental health so important for you? And what does that mean to you and the work that you do?
For me, I think, well, men's mental health is incredibly important uh, to me personally, and to friends, male friends of mine as well around me who have struggled as well with male mental health. I have had bouts of depression and anxiety as well in my life. So it is a subject that matters a lot to me. And I feel like this was the perfect avenue to explore that theme, because it focuses on one character who is clearly going through something, and it's up to the audience to decide to what extent he is truly culpable and guilty for the things that he's done. But he just goes completely in the wrong direction with how to cope with what he's going through. And the film sort of examines him coming to terms with that and realizing that he is sort of living a bit of a bit of a falsehood, and isn't completely honest with himself, hasn't been honest really with us as the viewer either. And he goes through a bit of a transformation, I think, in sort of realizing that, and sort of working out where he fits in the world. So yeah, it's obviously taken to the extreme in Loner, but I think, yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it wasn't inspired, by some of the feelings I've felt, and things I've noticed around me in my life with friends as well. So yeah, it's definitely a personal one.
Absolutely, and you also star in the movie, so you also play Angus in the film, and the performance is absolutely brilliant. And what that does is it really sort of allowed us to get into these moments in between the jokes and the comedy that are really, really deep and personal, and it was absolutely amazing to get to see that little window every once in a while into, like, is he putting on a character? Is he being real with me? Is he sharing right now really, or is he? It was absolutely spectacular to kind of sort of like follow that journey throughout Angus's kind of sort of like self discovery, and allowing us to sort of like dip into the thing. So fantastic, well done there. But I wanted to ask about, like, also the performances. It's the kind of the setup of somebody trying to go and disconnect and reconnect with or to sort of rediscover themselves and connect with nature and sort of find a new self, going in the woods and sort of like scripting a whole kind of sort of reality TV show around that process. Like, what did that give you as a performer?
So I was very inspired by watching a lot of these vloggers on YouTube and on Instagram and other places, and it always struck me first this sort of strangely um, just very visible performance of someone trying to be authentic and honest, but it was so clear that they were the orchestrators of what we were seeing. They were setting up the camera and walking away from it and showing themselves at the top of a mountain and look what they've done and what they've achieved. And you're getting a glimpse into this amazing, like, enviable life of adventure and freedom and success. And a lot of it's bullshit. Like, a lot of it is just it's completely orchestrated, and it's just the irony of that really struck me. And I thought it was really funny but also quite quite tragic. And so I knew that this would be a great sort of a way of showing Angus's dilemma with his own identity and authenticity in terms of what he presented and what he was going through. And I find it really interesting when you see characters and you see their mask slip a little bit, and you get a little glimpse into what they're like. One of my favorite scenes in the film, seeing and actually doing, which because it was really fun to do, was the den building scene where he's getting all the logs and whatever. We were really, really tired it was coming to the end of the shoot. We'd been outside for a long, long portion of the day and the shoot, and it came to this scene, and in the script, it's just literally Angus builds a den out of the logs around him and the branches around him. And we wanted to keep it quite improvised because Angus doesn't really have a plan, and it's supposed to look a bit shit what he builds. But he gets himself stuck because he doesn't think about his head, and it's sort of like a microcosm for the whole film, in that he just starts building this. I suppose this narrative around himself, and he gets caught in the sort of the web that he's created, and no one's there to help him. And when he says like, "You did this, you got yourself into this position," I've seen audiences really laugh at that in festivals, and I've seen other audiences go really quiet. So it's really interesting how that scene has like split between people thinking it's like a really tragic sketch, and then other people being like, "Oh no, we're seeing a darkness here." Um, so it was really fun to sort of play with the sort of the comedy of the performance in what he presents, but like always brushed underneath with this like he's not actually okay. And I felt that was really interesting um, to sort of play with as an actor as well.
Love that. That and the fish are my absolutely top favorites. I'm like, yeah, all of this, brilliant. And do you know what's something very interesting that I was thinking about that I kind of needed to talk to you about, but I don't know how to approach it. But is this right? This whole film, the narrative of the film, it's not presented to us by Angus, right? It is by his friend. Like his friend finds the cameras
Yeah.
and puts the narrative together. It What's so weird is like I wanted to talk to you about like the very last moment, and I suppose this is kind of sort of like a spoiler warning, so people can skip forward about I don't know 4 or 5 minutes or whatever. Um, the very last two frames that exist in the film, it kind of changes the narrative in a very strange way, because if we had seen him fleeing the forest in the middle of the night and bumping into the other hiker, and whatever happened there in that moment, in that scene, in that sequence, we would have seen it as part of almost like self-preservation or trying to get to safety, and we would have seen it as like, oh my god, that was an accident. But
Mm.
seeing the movie and him actually getting to safety and then choosing to go back into the wild, and then seeing a flashback of that narrative, I wanted to ask, what was the thinking of, like, why would his friend frame it that way? What was the thinking about the writing of this sequence, or did that come back in the edit, or was that an original script? Like, how did that come about?
It did come about in the script because I really wanted there to be a moment where you think you have a you think you're completing a picture in your mind as to who Angus is and what he's experiencing, and then at the last moment there is just something that just, I don't know, a curveball that just casts everything you've been expecting into a slightly different angle, or maybe we need to rethink a little bit about what we've seen. And for me, I felt like it also would be fun to play with the structure a little bit and break up the linear sort of narrative of it all, because the way that we can perceive the film as it is on a film, he is saved by this presence, by this entity, and he makes it out. And I think it is true that he goes through a bit of a transformation in terms of he's had this very real experience. He's sort of seen himself. He's peered into the void and sort of made it out alive. and modern life doesn't really fit him anymore. And he never really could fit into society. And even though he wasn't truly alone, because he did have his parents and he does have his neighbor, he has concocted in his mind a different story of it. So he was never really sort of there, and he feels possibly that he belongs back where he had this very real experience, and actually possibly was sort of reborn in a strange way. And then what we see happens is this moment which does sort of change the narrative slightly. And do we think, oh God, is he going back because he's guilty? Does he feel like he's consumed by what he's done, even though it is an accident, and it could have gone either way, because he could have ended up, the one on the floor, um,
Mhm.
in that moment too, if it was just one of those split things that happened. So it was important to, throughout the making of this film, to keep people guessing as to what will happen next, and to keep trying to change our sort of prediction of what was going to happen. And I think what we've done with editing in that scene towards the end, which was written in the script, it just, even at the very end, we don't get a full idea as to what's going on inside Angus and what he's feeling and why he's doing things. And I think that's more interesting. I think we're left with more of a mystery as to who this person is that we spent our time with. And I thought that just felt like a really open, discussion. I like films that end with a bit of a discussion. I don't really want it to be a
Yeah.
closed book. So
And that whole going back situation, it really prompts up a lot of discussions. And we had a lot of discussions when we watched the movie together here, the programs and us, about kind of sort of like institutional help and kind of sort of like therapy, and like where is, like, at what point it, the situation has become too out of control to kind of sort of be tamed. You know what I mean? Like, it almost like makes the movie into a cautionary tale of like, listen, if we don't ask for help soon enough, if we don't solve these issues when they are still under the surface, when they root, they become too big to be uprooted, and all of a sudden you have a man that decides. It basically, it almost becomes at the end. It's because that was the chilling bit. It was like, were we watching almost like a suicide note? It was very chilling at the end. It was very sort of like um scary and sinister in a very kind of sort of like, oh my god, oh no, oh my god, type of way. Um,
yeah,
we
yeah.
kind of sort of what I wanted to chat about, like, oh yeah, sorry, do you want something to say something
No,
about
no,
that?
I was just saying 100%. I agree, and that was very much like the with that in mind, that the sort of final goodbye to his parents and to the world, really, and that was very much like a deliberate, like, that was very much in mind with writing that, because it is almost like a complete goodbye. um but you don't know whether he's going to, whether he's going to survive this next venture into the forest again, or whether he is, seriously saying just goodbye, and he's off to continue living. So yeah, that was yeah, it is chilling. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, what did the horror genre gave you guys as tools, as well as the story itself, that other genres perhaps couldn't have
Hmm.
been there for you in that way?
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge horror nut. Like, I've always loved horror. I was raised on horrors. My brother and I, when we were little, we were watching Hellraiser and Phantasm with our dad when everyone was watching, cartoons and stuff. So we are thoroughly messed up, but yeah, I've always loved it, and I've always wanted to work in horror, and will definitely continue to do so. I think for this film, well, we knew we wanted to make a found footage film because we love found footage, and we're hugely inspired by films like, obviously, The Blair Witch, but also Creep, and Mark Duplass as a filmmaker has been massively inspiring to us, practically and pragmatically, as an indie filmmaker, just sort of getting out there and making it, and writing within your means and within the stakes you can achieve as well. So we knew that the horror genre would be brilliant for us to work in as first time, feature filmmakers. Um, Pragmatically, in the sense that found footage is such an accessible and democratic genre. It's not easy though, because you have to constantly justify the camera. Like, because it's found, it's a document that you've retrieved. So we had to think really carefully. It's not just picking up a camera running in the woods, as fun as it is, and we're so pleased that we got a bit of that in Loner. um it's really, really difficult to get right, and it's been, there's been a lot of found footage out there, so we really wanted to be thinking carefully about how to make it fresh and original. But yeah, it's definitely a genre which has helped us just practically get out there. But also, I think horror, it is a really brilliant way of translating on screen these really difficult themes that we were talking about at the beginning, about mental health and the characters' inner workings and the drama there. It helps just, I don't know, it just is a brilliant way of providing a metaphor for difficult subject material and making it entertaining as well, and we've always been drawn to that. And then it goes hand in hand with comedy so well, because mine and Doug's background is in sketch comedy and stand up and writing, silly plays and things, which has always had one foot in horror and dark comedy. So it was a no-brainer to us. We've always wanted to make it, and it's the perfect genre for everything we wanted to achieve at the time as well.
But you
Yeah.
also mentioned Mark Duplass, which is something that also I was thinking about. Is like it's Mark Duplass is very well sort of famous about the fact the kind of sort of like the process of indie filmmaking, of kind of sort of like getting it done, getting it cleverly done, being smart about how you do certain things. It's sort of like being in charge of your own kind of sort of filmmaking journey and destiny. What are the most current indie filmmaking kind of um, aspects of filmmaking in the indie world that are kind of sort of exciting you at the moment the most?
Well, obviously this like amazing like migration of YouTubers and people online making horror. I'm a huge fan of Obsession. I recently saw it for the second time. I saw it for the first time at Panic Fest in America, where Loner had its US premiere, and I saw Obsession, and that was just amazing. It blew me away, and I've taken all my friends and my wife to go see it here in the UK, and it was amazing. But I love, and I'm yet to see Backrooms and Iron Lung, but there's this amazing the thing happening in horror and in cinema, and I think this is real change in cinema. I do think occurs in the horror space, and I think it's occurring now with people who have been creating things online and really, really honing their style and their voice. And whether it's Curry Barker, really, like understanding extreme human behavior in like sketch comedy and really getting tight with scripts and relatability, or it's Kane Parsons like building this incredible visual liminal world and really like digging into the lore of what he's created there. Like it's amazing. That's really important. Like in indie film and indie horror, there are people really thoughtful, really greatly talented people who have been existing and working in the online space are now going into horror, and it's the perfect vehicle for what's in their brain and what's in their mind. And they're showing what's possible with a minimal budget and with the skills that they've harnessed in their own way at home. Um, and I think that's really exciting. And I think like people should really, if you are a first time filmmaker, um, like do have fun with making sketches and putting things online and listening to feedback, and that all builds so well into just finding your voice and your style. And then when the time is right, you can make a feature. And I'd say making a feature for as little money as possible should be the first feature that you make, not trying to find as much money as you can for your first feature, because then you really understand your own stakes and your own capabilities, without a sense of pressure. But you'll never be able to make a Chris Nolan film on 100 grand. Like, it's just not going to look that way, and it's not going to happen. But you can make a kick-ass, like, solo independent thing for, you know, a few grand actually. And you can self-distribute, and all of that is really worthwhile. And I think people like that are showing what's possible. um so yeah, with Mark Duplass, and now I think this generation of online creators, I think it's no wonder to me that they're going to horror, because it's such a brilliantly accessible sandbox. And we're working with this great platform called Found TV, who specialize in found footage, and they met us shortly after we premiered on Raindance, and we were introduced to them through someone who spotted us on Instagram and saw the film and really liked it. And so we've been working with them, and they've been really, really helpful at, you know, introducing the film to a worldwide horror audience and found footage fans. And it's been really, really, really like amazing to work with them. And now we're heading towards a wider release in July, on sort of more established streaming platforms and things, and pushing physical media as well, because that was important. We wanted fans of the film to really be able to take ownership of the film and have a physical copy. And, you know, we want to try and create things that they can collect from the film, you know, like things inspired from the film. And because we really do care about, we are for the first time like seeing fans of the film, which is really crazy to us. And they'd love, you know, to keep a hold of things like a DVD, or I don't know, a piece of memorabilia from the film or something. So yeah, we're very, very excited to be sort of working with these cool new platforms, and, you know, interacting, engaging with great fans as well.
Brilliant, fantastic. Well, that reaches the end of our little chat. I have been Rady Nikolov. This is Charlier Robb. If you guys have not seen Loner just yet, and if this half an hour have not convinced you to go and check out Loner, you must go check out Loner. I need to emphasize this. Loner is available to stream right now, and it's going to have a wider release in July. Go follow Charlie. I'm going to put all the links down into the doobly-doo. Charlie, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone as well. It's been a joy, and really hope you enjoyed the film. And Rady, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, mate.